Hi, everyone. My name is Corrie Thorne, and I am the founder and the creator of More Than Existing and the author of now 2 published books based on telling the story of life, of my own experience in my own life. And knowing that we all don't get we don't all know all the right steps, the right things to do. We have to learn how to trust and trust our own bodies and trust ourselves. So this message that I come in with weekly is me channeling through the energy. I read through the energy. I read, I see, I feel, I sense all that is existing within this world and other worlds. That ability to be able to channel through the divine, to be able to connect to the divine energy and ask what is needed for the highest good. And the more that I exist in this world, the more I kind of shake my head at such divide and judgments that does come. Finding our own voice in our own way is not easy. And to then be placed under the scrutiny of judgment makes it even more difficult to allow ourselves to be us. So I invite you in this coming week. This is being recorded on the very last couple days of September. This is the 29th. And so this is being recorded on September the 29th. And as we are getting prepared to leave all of the retrogrades behind, move into, or all the retrogrades that are actively taking place, that, in the weeks to come, that we move into October, we're moving into a shift and being able to leave behind some of this old energy. So I invite you, in leaving behind some of this old energy, to know that you are worthy of your voice. But how you respond to the world matters. How you respond to the energy matters. Because why? Because it matters to you, to your body, and how you feel about yourself after. How you second guess yourself later. How you resonate with your own vibrational frequency. And if we sit in the thunder of, yeah, I told them so, I said what I needed to say, and I don't regret that. But when all the lights fade, when all the doors close, when you sit alone and your thoughts go to the shoulda, coulda, woulda, I don't like that self that just spoke in such an aggressive way, or such a mean way, or that's not exactly as I intended. Those are the things that you have to live with. Those are the energies that no matter how much anyone else becomes your cheerleader, you have to exist in that energy. So it matters to you. Who we are when nobody's looking matters the most. How we treat ourselves when no one is looking matters the most. Speaking from experience, speaking from my own personal experience and years of creating an enemy within myself, I really, truly have found my way back into allowing myself to find that sense of my own authentic voice. Did I find it alone? No. Did I do it alone? No. Did I have to listen to the wisdom that channels through even others? Of course. Because sometimes I would doubt even my own wisdom. Sometimes I would doubt even my own voice. So as we're moving into the October season, as we've moved into a Scorpio season, as this is also a water energy. Scorpio is a water sign, and it works with the element of water. Is that water can be molded and manipulated and changed and shifted, and manipulated is not always a negative. Manipulated can have a positive impact. So how we use the power of manipulating energy, manipulating our own energy, moving, could be that sense of molding and creating into something more beautiful rather than a sinister energy. So the sinister energy is alive, it is active, it is real, it exists within us all. And when our angers and our frustrations, when that sense of our not true self is guiding our way and leading our way, the negativity becomes that which we try to mold and create this sense of self in the world. And we are so preconditioned to this with the exposures that we have had that says, look into others, see what they're doing, see how they're See how they're speaking about you, see how they're living, see how that rich is living. That's, all those rich, they all live this way and they all live that way. Every narrative and every story that we create about what we assume we believe and think somebody else is living allows us to continue to live in the suffering. And when we believe we exist and live in the suffering, we always will respond to that suffering in the way of trying to overcome, survive that suffering story, or continue to add on to that suffering story. But when we can see that self in a new way, when we find the essence of our own truth, finding our voice is about learning to listen to the wisdom of the voice of ourselves, of that previous version of us. Because the greatest evolution of the human will come from the history of the human, of your own human experiences, of really truly listening to the voice that said, how many times have you tried that? How's that worked? How many times have you bared witness to that narrative and story that you've created about somebody, and when you actually meet them, it being a false prophecy, that was your narrative, that you don't know. And when you try to exist as somebody else, when you try to mimic and mock somebody else's life, you also are getting all that comes with that, which means you may be receiving that same kind of pain existence that they exist in. You don't know what somebody else is existing in when the doors close, when they are in privacy, when they're alone, what they don't share with the world. No matter how much we think somebody else has, we all have our own share of hurts, pains, insecurities, fears. So if we look into the reflection of that truest self, of the self that was the previous versions of you, and ask yourself, how did that feel? How did it feel to be judged? How did it feel to be criticized? How did it feel to be spoken down to? How did it feel to have somebody create a story about you? How did it feel to have somebody lash out their pain onto you? How did it feel? Do you want that again? And why would you want somebody else to feel that? Why would you want to throw that on somebody else? Why would you want to cause somebody else enough pain that it gives them that sense of sometimes maybe not even wanting to be present? So being aware is huge coming in October. The shift is a kindness. So the energy that I get is there is a kindness. So I often call weather, and I've seen all these weather patterns. I've called these big storms, these tropical storms, these hurricanes coming in. A few weeks ago, I spoke about seeing the shores somewhere in the south being washed away. Florida's being hit. I've seen it hitting areas where, people couldn't afford to even, have this happening again. And so I've seen it coming up over the rocks. And so Newfoundland got hit. The east coast of Canada got hit hard with these storms, which is such a disastrous thing to have to experience. And how do I know it's disastrous? Because I existed in some of those disasters at one point in my life. Not with water, but with fire. Well, no, with fire and water, because the flood hit after the fire. But this is this water energy, right? And so water can, Mother Earth, her energy, that manipulation. So wind brought in. So wind comes into water, it rises water. So when we allow storms to be created within us, when we allow ourselves to be a part of those storms and that storm energy, and we let our thoughts, create these narratives and these storms, we become those hurricanes. And do we really intend to become destructive? And sometimes we don't know we're being destructive. And I'm going to refer to the keyboard warriors for a moment. And that sense of having to have a word, opinion, a thought, having to judge somebody's creation, somebody's content, somebody's life, and to throw such horrible energy onto somebody else that then feeds that need of saying, I told them. Well, when you don't see them showing up anymore, maybe your comments was enough to be that final piece, that final story of destruction, because sometimes it takes a lot of guts to show up. And so now bring that into you, bring that inward. We become that storm to ourselves, and we manipulate our own stories in our own lives, and we stop showing up for ourselves. We stop standing in our own light. We allow ourselves to go into that doubt and that fear and deny ourselves our lives because somebody else passed judgment. Because somewhere out there, somebody told you that you were an awful person, or that you were not kind, or that you were this or you were that. It didn't mean it was truth. It means they had a piece of something that became like putting a fuse into you to get you to erupt, to explode, to disappear, to go away, that then spreads like a virus. So moving in to this and moving that energy is that maybe become a waterfall. Maybe let yourself be the waterfall. Maybe let yourself be that landmark waterfall, that where people want to go, where it just flows love and light down through, and it lets love and light pool into this water, and letting people bathe in that pool of water, that pool of life. Our kindness will go a long way. Our compassion, our caring, and not to have so much empathy, so much empathy that it becomes that neurotic, obsessive energy, but knowing that we have the ability to gain perspectives, to see things, to look deeper, to go deeper into that why. And when we do, how we become present, how we show up in the world does change. So we do have a sense that, we can hold back, and we can wait, and we can rest, and we can really truly access our own history, our own experiences, what it felt like, what it feels like, before we start thinking a story into creation. What does it feel like to be judged? What does it feel like to be bullied? What does it feel like to be emotionally, physically abused? What does those things feel like? So if we have previous experience, instead of letting it become the bomb we let come out onto others, we remember what it feels like, and we become kind to ourselves, so that we can act kind, we can show up in a kind way, so that we can be the light, so that we can be that in this world, so that we, as a society, as a world, we can evolve from our own experiences. We know where we have come. When we know where we have come from, we know what we have been through. We know what we have experienced. But when we become honest with ourselves, that's when change begins. When we look only into our own mirror, when we look only into our own actions, when we look only in with compassion, not with even more judgment, but an awareness that we have all been on these journeys. We've all been to these places. And so that's the message that has been coming through and has been channeling through in such a big way. And I'm like smoothing it out on a table, like I am that grandmother, that elder energy, that's spreading out her bannock, that's spreading out her dough, getting ready to make her biscuits, getting ready to cook something that she wants to feed with love. But in the meantime, she's sharing wisdom without pointing a finger. She's sharing wisdom and not judging, not pointing a finger, and just saying, be aware of how you're going to be in the world today. Be aware of standing up and showing up, and who is standing up and who is showing up. Who are you? And this is where grace comes in, and this is where truth comes in. When you become honest with yourself in a loving way, you allow yourself to heal the unseen wounds. You allow yourself to become a beacon of inspiration. You become the guide, you become the teacher, you become that within yourself that is needed. And so this evolution of finding the voice and finding that self is that when you stop responding to feeling like, oh my God, I have to show up, I have to be there, I have to give the messages the way people want them. When I stop doing that, I start to give the messages of the divine and the voice of the divine and the truth of my journey. Because I wasn't the same person, I couldn't be the same person who originally showed up, who originally was there. Because if I continue to be that just because people liked it, I would not like me. And I would not love this evolution, and I would deny myself the opportunity to grow, to evolve. So listening to that previous versions of myself, and who did I need to be? Who did I want to be? Love, to be at peace. And that's a big part of these messages, a big part of this journey, to be that within yourself, to be that within your own life. To be that means that you have to let go of everything else that you think you need to be, and to free yourself of thinking you need to be that. And I'm looking over at my own cards and I'm like, I can't reach them because I wasn't going to use them, but I really want to use them. So I'm bringing in some of the old, these are the old copies, but the beta testing, but we are so much closer to getting these cards out. You'll soon be able to see on my website the new backing. So the new backing on the cards will soon be out, and it's light, it's airy, it looks like the Milky Way to me. It looks like the Milky Way. The back of the cards looks like the Milky Way with a heart and a key. And so there is a change, and October is a change, coming into a change. Scorpio can sting. Scorpio can be harsh. It can be tough, but it can also be beautiful, and it can also be wonderful. Same with water. An ocean can be violent. It can be aggressive. It can be all of those things, but it's not, it is a problem, but it's not the problem. The fact that we build right on a shoreline and think that that water is not going to hurt us, that that water could not possibly come up, that does play a part, right? But we take the risk, we take the chance just so that we can be close to the water, because the water also has beauty. The water also has this radiance, this healing, this everything, but everything will have its time. Everything has its moments. And sometimes we have to make space and room for us to have our moments and our time, but we can do it in a loving way because we know how to control ourselves a little bit better than, the ocean just does what it does. A river, a brook. You want to just live next to calm water? Live near a brook. A brook most likely will just trickle. It got room to expand and rise out. But it's not as big. It's not as bold. So there's so many ways to look at to ourselves and see ourselves as water. And what we are willing to, what we're willing to compromise to be our body of water. What we're willing to, how we're willing to contain our own body of water, our own sense of ourselves, to know that within us. Oh, see, so we got the manipulation. See, I knew it. I just heard it's your cards. We got Mavis, and this is the master manipulator. And so the master manipulator, when people see this card, they automatically go, like master manipulator is not a good thing. It's a trauma response. It's survival. It's a survival technique. It is another way into, it's another gateway into our suffering. It's another way of control. But what if the master manipulator is manipulating and moving energy, shifting energy so that it makes room, makes way, makes space for new things, for beautiful things? when we are no longer that bleeding heart, feeling that when we fully deplete all of that energy, and we see ourselves as a powerful force of divine love and light, and that we can move and clear the energy without having to come at a cost of everyone else. Of course, it always has a cost, but when we really truly consider what the cost is and what it is costing us. So master manipulator of Mavis, and where she comes from for me is when the card was first created, the first thing the artist said from my sketch to her sketch was the essence of, if you don't like her, we can take her out. She's not very pretty. She's not very, like, she's kind of like an aggressive looking card. And I said, no, she's beautiful. And what makes her beautiful is that you can't see all of her. You don't know all of her intentions. You don't know what her intentions are. So you really can't see. And she has that of Mother Earth. Is she not Gaia? Is she not the divine? And so is this the eruption, that fire that burns within? Her head may be in the clouds. What is that fire? What is that fire of desire? What is lighting up for us? And so for me, and the energy that originally brought this, because the cards are inspiration and attitude, is that being inspired by many women who have had the courage to sometimes have to be a storm, to be a volcano, to be an eruption, and to not to just sit in the, oh, I feel sorry for everyone, and not do nothing, but take actions and steps and stand their ground and stand strong, knowing full well that it comes at a cost to themselves, but also knowing that they can keep space within themselves to honor their own sacred flame, their own light. And so this card is a essence of, so understanding manipulation in a beautiful way, seeing it in the flip side of the emotion. So a higher vibrating energy. So how can we manipulate and move and readjust and restructure our own energy, our own stories, moving pieces, move the pieces around, readjust, look back into some of the stories and look in and see them differently, see them through the eyes of, not wanting to feel that again within yourself. And if you don't want to have to feel that again yourself, then you definitely should not want to throw that onto another. At your first card, second card, we have rebirth. So this is the mind, right? So this is where we are in the mind. This is body. So embodying the journey of rebirth, this is 0. 0 is that moment of peace. So all 4 experience. So she's purity. So she's the beginning of the pack, but she's also like the end of the pack. She's the kind of everything of the deck in so many ways. So there's 4 experiences happen at once, and we can be in 4 experiences. We can be grieving, we can be celebrating, we can be in joy. And I just remember that experience of being the new mom, being 25, being a new mom, having 2 years before that just started or a year and a half before that just started my own business, having my own business, an only employee. Also then, wanting a child, but also having fear and kind of having my own thought of, what have I done? What have I done? And what am I going to do with this now? And then also the urge and the crave to want to be who I once was, and missing and grieving the parts of what once was, but also still celebrating, but also knowing that there was still this great purpose, a divine purpose of why this was happening. And then also enthusiastic and excited for the love that would come forward with me in my life, that would move forward, and that I could still have those emotions, but still live in the purity. But so many times in the beginning of something new, in the rebirth stage, when you're in the new stage, the purity of that experience and moments gets taken away by, you need to do this, you need to be that. And everyone loves to say the things like, oh, now your life is over. Life as you knew it is over. You'll never have this again. You'll never do this again. Oh, you might as well just give up on that. You might as well, or, you're moving into something new and they're like, you're crazy. You don't, what happened to you? Where did you go? We miss the old you. We want the old you back. Those are triggers. And in those experiences, in those moments of when you know you and you allow yourself your experiences, is that you don't have space for all of the space junk. You don't have space for all of the other outside interferences. You truly embrace the moment you hold that what you have just given birth to, the moment you hold that and nothing else matters. That feeling, that very feeling before all the rest comes in and tries to contaminate it, change it, or tell you what to do, that moment right there, that's the moment that we really, truly want to really start embracing, finding those moments, creating those moments, and living in those moments, because you will find the purest, most authentic version of you in that moment, in that experience. When everyone else left my house, when everyone left me alone, and it was just me and her, and I could just lay with her on my chest, nothing else mattered. Because I wasn't in my head. You weren't in the head. You were in the heart. And when you learn to live from the heart, to live from the heart, the thinking aspects of what will need to be done, that's part of the logical, will follow, but without having to be in that sense of, I got to do now, I got to make it happen. And making that shift. And then we move into the spirit card. We move into that essence of, the essence of self that creates creates the world that we're going to live in, the environment. And that brings us into desired reflection, Evangeline. What is my desired reflection? What am I looking into? So at this stage of the game, and where I am, and what I inspire you to do, is look into those moments of where you were heart living. And where you are heart living, remember those experiences, what it felt like to turn off the world, to shut everything out. And that little moment, because it doesn't last long enough for us to remember and hold on to. So you have to reclaim them. You have to go into that recollection and find those places in your life. Make that a reflection to look into, because it will help in the journey of transformation, the ability to be able to move forward. Our desired reflection should be the image of the best version of ourselves. The one that we can smile at, the one that we can stand up with, the one that we can be silent with in our heart. So when all else shuts down, when no one else is left, there is no shoulda, coulda, wouldas. We're just there. With that self, and just saying, you did good today. You succeeded today. You made it through another day. Tomorrow's a new day. What didn't get done will get done tomorrow. Possibly. So that we can live in calmer waters, so that we can create calmer environments, so that we can start see ourselves succeeding in ways we didn't think we could succeed before. And then the underlying is the unveiling, which is Scarlet. And Scarlet comes in, sometimes I say to me, she represents that essence of, the beauty of the Devil card in Tarot, and that which is, what's chasing her. What is she still, what is she afraid of? Why is she afraid of unveiling? Why is she afraid of coming out? So Scarlet has a past. Scarlet has things of the past, people of the past. She has energy of the past. And because she's unveiling the version of her that exists today, and not the version of her that exists before, her thoughts, her energy, her emotions, she is very actively aware that other people will remember the version they met. And that's what they'll compare to. Whereas this unveiling of Scarlett is knowing that she has no choice. She is in the light. She is in the love. She has done the work, and she's pulling back that veil. And so, that whole between the space between heaven, that world of choosing heaven or hell is in our thoughts. It's in our mind. We can choose to create and live in hell on earth or heaven on earth in our own world. We can't control the world outside of us. We can't control what other people think, but knowing that, being there, and knowing that as she's slowly letting one side out, but she's also looking over her shoulder, because she is not oblivious to the fact that there is a darkness that still exists, that there is a world and there's still other people's energies that appear, but she has her eyes wide open. And so she knows that she can reveal her newest, truest, most beautiful self to herself. And so that reflection that we see in the spirit card is that soul relationship. When we all know that we have a divine within, we have a beauty within, and we have all succeeded and done a lot of good things, maybe in our lives somewhere, we just got to remember them. And when we remember them, we find them, we rise with them. And that's what we need to do as a world. We have to remember the beauty. We have to remember the good. We have to remember where we have succeeded to break chains and stories, and where we have been able to, set ourselves free of anything that divided, or choosing to say one race or one human is better than another, no matter where it is. Not one is any more, better than another. There is no superior race. There's no superior energy that way. We are all divine beings. And so being honest with ourselves and really truly looking in is that we can become the unveiling of a society and a world that is built more on kindness, knowing that the weeds and the darkness and the shitty behavior will still exist, but that we can be the change, and that we can do this, and that we are that. And so as we move through this energy, as we come through the harvesting season, as we prepare for a winter, as we start going into fall now and harvest season, and then thinking about the winter and the seeds that we plant and wait for the spring to come, is that in the frost, when waters manipulate and turns to ice, there's a whole world that's existing underneath that ice, that is in dormant energy, that is there, that is just waiting, that is, waiting for the divine time, the perfect time to sprout, to rise, to come back up. And so that's where hope exists. And when we restore that sense of hope, we find faith. So having faith in you, holding on to the hope that doing all the right things for the right reasons will help to truly allow us to evolve into being the best that we can be. That's our message, and I hope it resonates with you. Thank you for being here with me this week. I'll also have the monthly message coming out. This is for the week. So September the 29th, 2022, I will have the message that will also follow, that will come after. And if you have not heard of my work, so this is my first book, More Than Existing, and this is My Truth of Existing Beyond the Reflection. This one is available on these are available on Amazon. You just put in Corrie Thorne, you will find both of these books available there. And there is more books to follow. This is a continual story. And the medicine is in the ability to share the stories and not tell people what to do, but guide people through knowing that we all have had a story, and we all have a story. So my real truth beyond the reflection is that essence of, when we really see that we all have the ability to tell ourselves those lies and seeking truth. But I was seeking truth within myself and finding that. This book was about ownership and responsibility. It was the beginning of the journey of saying, whoa, wait, maybe I am responsible. for some of my own suffering, because it's contributing to a story. This is saying, hey, you know what? I'm worth fighting for. And that's what I hope that each and every one of you can discover within you, that you are worth putting the work into and investing into you. Much love. And if you want more of my work, please go to mteacademy.ca, where there's so many programs, classes, and courses. On this Sunday, October the 2nd, there is a leveling up, my Sunday morning soul revival classes that I do of the Goddess Within. That's happening Sunday. Also, there is a few more programs that are in there that are few. There's a lot of programs in there that are pre-recorded. You can purchase and do at your own pace in your own time. Go to CorrieThorne.com for all the updates and all the informations, and to also be able to, I have a few openings left in October so that you can book your one-on-one session with me if you so choose, but you can also order emailed readings. So on the website, there is emailed readings, and you can purchase a 2-3 card emailed reading where you will receive a videoed email reading from me with the 2, 3, or 5 cards. So please do read the details in there though, and make sure you got your email in correctly. Much love. Have a beautiful day, and I will talk with you soon. Bye-bye.